Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand, Narasimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with bringing smiles to your faces. This video we shared with you last evening, and it has gone viral. Everybody has loved these two girls stepping out and hitting it out of the park. Often called a religion in our country, cricket is loved by all age groups, and this video of young girls from a small village in Barmer in Rajasthan has gone viral. In the video which we showed you, on Tuesday evening, the girls show off their amazing skills at cricket on a sandy ground. This is actually the backyard of their home. This village doesn't even have a decent cricket ground. It's been widely shared across social media platforms, and this girl is stepping out and back. There you go. So the BCCI Secretary Jai Shah to Sachin Tendulkar, everyone is going gaga of their skills. This video serves as a reminder that talent knows no bounds, and even those in perhaps the farthest of corners in the remotest of areas can accomplish great feats if given the right opportunity and the platform. We had the opportunity here on The Right Stand to interact with these girls, and I commend our team at the back end for not only going down and finding out who they are, but traveling all the way to get them through to talk to the country. So we are all their fans, but who is little Meher a fan of? Listen.
तो ममूल मेहर को क्रिकेट बहुत अच्छा लगता है। क्रिकेट आप कहाँ से देख रही थी? अनीशा को देख के आपको क्रिकेट अच्छा लगा कि आपने इंडियन प्लेयर्स को देखकर आपको क्रिकेट अच्छा लगा?
इंडियन मैं देखती हूँ, अनीशा देखती है, अनीशा के साथ देखती रहती हूँ।
हाँ, तो आपका फेवरेट प्लेयर कौन है?
सूर्य कुमार यादव।
सूर्य कुमार यादव। तो आपको स्काई इतना अच्छा क्यों लगता है?
उसकी स्टाइल बहुत अच्छी है।
उसकी स्टाइल बहुत अच्छी है। अच्छा, उसका फेवरेट शॉट कौन सा है आपको? आपको कौन सा लगता है उसके फेवरेट शॉट? कोई नहीं, आराम से बोलो।
लेग साइड से चौके।
लेग साइड पे जो चौका मारता है, अच्छा वो जो बैठ के मारता है या आगे बढ़ के फिर घुमाता है, कौन सा वाला अच्छा लगता है?
आगे बढ़ के।
आगे बढ़ के। मैंने आपके वीडियो में भी आपको आगे बढ़ के शॉट मारते हुए देखा था। तो आप सारे बॉलर्स को ऐसे ही मारती हैं?
जी।
डर नहीं लगता आपको?
नहीं।
डर नहीं लगता? और कोई तेज गेंद कराता है तो
थोड़ी सी अटक जाती हूँ।
थोड़ी सी अटक जाती हो, बाकी ठीक है।
जी।
आपके रोशन भाई को लगता है आप अच्छी बैटिंग करती हैं?
बड़ी बहन राजस्थान में अंडर 19।
अनीशा तो अंडर 19 के लिए सेलेक्ट हुई है ना?
जी।
हाँ, तो अनीशा बैटिंग करती है, बॉलिंग करती है?
बॉलिंग।
अनीशा बॉलिंग करती हैं। और आपको क्या अच्छा लगता है? बैटिंग अच्छा लगता है, बॉलिंग अच्छा लगता है?
मैं दोनों ही करती हूँ।
जी, आप दोनों ही करती हैं, पर दोनों में कौन सा अच्छा लगता है? बैटिंग और बॉलिंग में कौन सा ज्यादा अच्छा?
बैटिंग।
बैटिंग। तो आपने अनीशा की बॉलिंग में बैटिंग की है?
जी।
आउट हो जाती है कि उनको भी मारा है आपने? बाउंड्री मारी है? कभी बाउंड्री कभी आउट।
जी।
अच्छा, अभी आप मुझे बताइए, आपका ड्रीम क्या है? आप भी क्रिकेटर बनना चाहती हैं?
जी।
क्या बनना चाहती, क्या करना चाहती हैं? आपका ड्रीम क्या, ख्वाब क्या है? आप
मैं इंडिया टीम तक खेलना चाहती हूँ।
इंडिया टीम तक खेलना चाहती हैं?
जी।
और इंडियन टीम में जाकर आप क्या करना चाहती हैं? बैट्समैन बनेगी, बॉलर बनेगी या ऑलराउंडर बनेगी?
ऑलराउंडर।
ऑलराउंडर।
जी। अच्छा,
आपका फेवरेट बॉलर है कोई? बैट्समैन तो आपने बता दिया स्काई, सूर्य कुमार यादव। बॉलर कोई है आपका फेवरेट? बुमराह। जसप्रीत बुमराह आपका फेवरेट है? तो आप भी उसकी तरह फास्ट बॉलिंग करती हैं?
जी।
अरे वाह। अच्छा, एक बात बताइए, जब से आपका वीडियो वायरल हुआ है, मैंने सुना आपके पास क्रिकेट किट भी पहुंचा है। किसी ने आपको क्रिकेट किट भी भेजा है?
जी, सतीश पुनिया सर ने भेजा।
सतीश पुनिया सर ने क्रिकेट किट भेजा। तो अब आप जूते वूते पहनकर, आप किट विट पहनकर बैटिंग करेंगी तो वैसे ही शॉट मारेंगी कि उससे बेहतर खेलेंगी? उससे बेहतर खेलेंगी आप। अच्छा, आप अपने कोच रोशन भाई को पूछिए कि आपको लगता है मैं इंडिया खेलूंगी। आप ही पूछिए। मैं चाहता हूँ आप रोशन भाई को पूछो, रोशन भाई मैं इंडिया खेल सकती हूँ? पूछिए रोशन भाई को, वो तो आपके कोच हैं, पूछिए।
बिल्कुल खेल सकती है, क्यों नहीं खेल सकती?
तो रोशन भाई कह रहे हैं बिल्कुल खेल सकती हो, क्यों नहीं खेल सकती?
जी
तो अगला स्टेप क्या होगा? अनीशा की तरह आप भी अंडर 19 के सिलेक्शन में जाना चाहती हैं?
जी
जी। अच्छा, जरा आप अनीशा को पूछो, अनीशा कैसा खेलती हो? मैं जरा अनीशा से सुनूं। अनीशा को पूछो, मैं ऐसा क्रिकेट खेलती हूँ, पूछो।
उसी के ईयरफोन उसी
अच्छा क्रिकेट खेलती है?
जी
हाँ।
अच्छा, आपकी बॉलिंग पे भी शॉट मारे हैं?
अभी तो ग्राउंड है नहीं सर, ग्राउंड बनेगा तभी देखेंगे कौन मारता है कौन आउट करता है।
हाँ, लेकिन आपसे खेलती है कि ठीक ठाक है?
अच्छा करती है वो, अभी तो छोटी उम्र है उसकी, लेकिन अब आगे किट वगैरह एकेडमी ज्वाइन करेगी फिर अच्छा खेलेगी, इंडिया तक खेलेगी।
तब खेलेगी। अच्छा एक बात बताइए ममूल, आप मुझे महर एक बात बताइए कि गांव में सभी लड़कों की बॉलिंग पे आपने शॉट मारे हैं, तो लड़के आपको खिलाते हैं?
जी ग्राउंड है नहीं, मेरे छोटे छोटे भाई है, उसमें छोटे से ग्राउंड में खेलती है।
अच्छा, छोटे से ग्राउंड में आप खेलती हो।
जी
तो आपको लगता है कि अब आपके गांव में भी ग्राउंड आ जाना चाहिए?
अब लग रहा
अब लग रहा है कि आना चाहिए। वेरी गुड। अच्छा, अगर आपको मैं किसी क्रिकेटर से बात करवाना चाहूं तो किस क्रिकेटर से आप बात करना चाहेंगे?
सूर्य कुमार यादव।
सूर्य कुमार यादव से बात करना चाहेंगी? ठीक है महर, चलिए मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि मैं सूर्य कुमार यादव तक आपकी बात पहुंचा सकूं और फिर हम कोशिश करेंगे कि सूर्य कुमार यादव आपसे बात करें। ठीक है, चलिए आप मेहनत कीजिए, ऐसे ही खाइए पिए, अच्छे से वर्जिश कीजिए। और अब तो सब लोग आपको चाहते हैं कि आप अच्छी क्रिकेटर बने, हम भी चाहते हैं कि आप अच्छे क्रिकेटर बने। ठीक है, ऑल द वेरी वेरी बेस्ट।
थैंक यू सर।
नमस्ते।
$10 million jobs across 3 developed nations. That's what the biggest ever deal signed by India for commercial airlines is going to land up doing. So we're not just making for the world, we're also providing jobs across the world. What a story. Tata Group owned Air India has created history. Air India has successfully placed an order for 470 passenger planes with France's Airbus and American plane maker Boeing. This is one of the largest aircraft purchases in the history of commercial aviation. In a statement, the carrier has added, these new aircraft will modernize the airline's fleet and onboard products and dramatically expand its global network. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, American President Joe Biden, and of course French President Emmanuel Macron took the lead in announcing the order and underlined that the agreements will deepen our partnership further. While making the announcement, US President Joe Biden highlighted that this is Boeing's third biggest sale of all time. French President Emmanuel Macron also expressed his commitment to building strong ties not only in the aerospace sector but in other avenues as well. So what is Air India buying overall? From Airbus, Air India is going to buy 250 aircraft, 140 A320neo, 70 A321neo single-aisle planes, and 34 A350 1000s and 6 A350-900 wide bodies. Now, what is Air India buying? As far as from Boeing is concerned, from Boeing, Air India is going to be buying the option of adding another 50 737 Maxes and 20 787Ss. It's also buying 190 B737 Maxes. Then the option for also scaling up. So if you see from Airbus and from Boeing, the total number of buys adds up to nearly 250 aircraft, ladies and gentlemen. And that's perhaps the biggest ever deal as a commercial airline that India has given as an order. It can eventually total up to more than $45.7 billion if the additional aircraft are also ordered. Let's get into the numbers. Boeing deal finalized at $34 billion. The option to buy another additional 50 aircraft. The deal value could go up to $45.9 billion. The Air India order is the third biggest in dollar value, second biggest of all time in quantity. The purchase will support 1 million jobs in America. Deal to have an impact of $70 billion just across the USA. Now, as Air India makes aviation history, we tell you why it's important for Bharat. What is the deal? The deal is the purchase of 250 France Airbus aircraft, purchase of 220 US Boeing aircraft, the options for an additional 70 Boeing aircraft. AI Airbus Boeing deal is worth over 80 billion US dollars. It's a signal of India rising as a global power, strengthens India's ties with France and the US, bigger footprint in the aviation sector, boost to employment for all nations involved, including Bharat. The first of the new aircraft will enter service in late 2023 with the bulk to arrive from mid-2025 onwards. This one deal is the talking point in the entire world because it benefits three big economies. For the USA, it will help create 1 million jobs in 44 American states. It will deepen their economic ties with India, which is a world's bright spot. It boosts India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership, helps their aim of leading the world in manufacturing. For France, it will again create more employment. It will develop new areas of partnership with Bharat. French aerospace engine manufacturer Safran will set up a facility in Bharat. This will be the largest facility to service jet engines, manufacturing facility in our country. For the UK, it supports and creates new highly skilled jobs in Wales and Derbyshire. In Wales, 450 manufacturing jobs plus 100 plus million pounds in investment will come up. In Derbyshire will benefit too, as A350 engines are assembled and tested in Derbyshire. A big portion of manufacturing new aircraft will take place in the United Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. It's a mammoth deal. The biggest aviation deals. India, airline order size, and overall, if you were to look at it, Indigo ordered in 2019 300 aircraft worth $33 billion. In August 2015, 250 aircraft were ordered by Indigo for $26 billion. Now in Feb 2023, 470 aircraft at $80 billion. That's the order. Emirates, back in November 2013, ordered 200 aircraft at $99 billion compared to Air India now at $80 billion. And you had the Indigo partners together in December 2017, 430 aircraft at $49 billion. So if you were to look at it, overall, the order size and the amounts, this is one of the biggest aviation deals, the second largest after the UAE, if you were to look at that. 99 billion there, this is $80 billion. Now, even as the nation is yet to still, it's a huge win for Bharat, and of course, a big message going across to the world. Let's get a move on here on the right stand. Even as the nation is yet to come out of the Shraddha Walker murder case, here's another spine-chilling murder from Delhi. A man named Sahil Gehlot strangled his live-in partner to death inside his car and then stuffed the body at his own dhaba. But the story doesn't end there. The accused got married to another woman, that too in less than 24 hours. Murder, monstrosity, marriage, all in just about a few hours in a day between the 9th and 10th of February. Interim. CNN News 18 has also accessed CCTV footage of Nikki hours before her murder. In the visuals from the 9th of February, Nikki can be seen entering her home. So how things transpired? Let's get you the details. How did it all start? Now, we've been able to reconstruct what has happened based on what the police have said so far. In February, Sahil Gehlot and Nikki both took admission at the Galgotia College in Greater Noida and started living together. The couple even traveled to coaching classes together. cops claim that both returned to their homes during the lockdown. So this is in 2018, that's February 2018. Post-lockdown, when they returned, they started living together in Dwarka. Cops also claim that Sahil didn't disclose the relationship with Nikki to his family. In December 2022, Sahil Gehlot's marriage was fixed with another woman. And reports suggest that Nikki allegedly asked Sahil Gehlot to call off his marriage with the other person. On the 9th of February 2023, Sahil Gehlot got engaged to this lady. And post his engagement, he returned to Delhi in his white Verna. On his return, Sahil Gehlot also told Nikki that the news about his marriage is false, and instead Sahil asked Nikki to accompany him on a vacation to Himachal Pradesh or somewhere else. In fact, there are reports that they were first trying to go to Goa, but he didn't get tickets. Then they went to the ISPT bus stand. From there, they wanted to go to Himachal. That didn't happen, and they were roaming around. Now, on the intervening night of Feb 9th and Feb 10th, Sahil and Nikki drove to Kashmir Gate. And that's when Nikki confronted Sahil about his wedding plans. As this was happening, there was a heated argument. Things started flaring up. Temperatures started rising inside the car. And the cops claim, and that's when Sahil Gehlot allegedly strangled Nikki with the phone data charging cable inside the car. Around midnight on the intervening night of 9th and 10th, Sahil panicked. He drove around Delhi NCR with Nikki's body for about 40 kilometers. He arrived at his family dhaba in Najafgarh and then stuffed Nikki's body inside a fridge in his own dhaba. Apparently, this dhaba was shut because of his wedding and there was nobody around. In the morning, he then heads back as if nothing has transpired to prepare for his wedding function and then gets married too. So how did the cops figure out and unravel this Shraddha-like murder? Cops received a secret input that Sahil has murdered Nikki. No missing persons complaint for Nikki had been registered, but the cops launched a search operation to apprehend Sahil. His mobile phone was switched off as he was not at home. Accused Sahil Gehlot was then arrested, presented in court, and he is currently being sent to 5-day police remand. But Shraddha and Nikki's murder are not the only one. Such murders are perhaps seeming a little routine now, especially with this live-in relationship coming to the fore, ladies and gentlemen. This month in Palghar, 27-year-old Hardik killed his live-in partner Megha, stuffed Megha's body in a mattress. In October 2022, in Gurugram, a woman was raped, killed and stuffed in a suitcase. The husband held 2 days after the suitcase was found. In November 2022, in Azamgarh, a 24-year-old prince killed his ex-partner Aradhana and chopped the body into 6 parts and threw the parts into a well. In May 2022, 28-year-old Aftab strangled his partner Shraddha, the Shraddha Walker case, and then he took the pieces, broke it down, stored it in parts of the fridge, and then disposed them off over a period of a few weeks and months in Gurugram and other areas. So multiple such cases that are now emerging, raising the hackles and alarm bells, setting the alarm bells ringing, especially in these cases of live-in relationships, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on here on the right stand, a shocking crime has come to light in Tamil Nadu, where DMK councillor named Chinnaswamy, along with 8 others, has been accused of killing a soldier in Tamil Nadu's Krishnagiri district. According to reports, the army personnel named Prabhu was assaulted by the DMK councillor and his suspects over a minor altercation, and this happened on the 8th of February, involving the washing of clothes near a water tank. Now, the incident took place in the Krishnagiri district. Prabhu was hospitalized but then succumbed to injuries on the 14th of February, after which the cops converted the case of assault into a case of murder. However, Chinnaswamy and 2 other accused are still absconding, while 6 suspects have been arrested so far. The DMK so far has not taken any action against its absconding councillor. He's still on the run after committing this gruesome act. The BJP has hit out at the DMK, saying even soldiers are not safe due to the state government's anarchy and apathy. CNN News 18's Purnima Murli spoke to the deceased armyman's sister-in-law. Listening.
என்ன மேடம் நடந்தது? இந்த சம்பவம் எப்போ நடந்தது?
இது 8ஆம் தேதி மேம். ஒண்ணுமே இல்ல, ஒரு சின்ன பிரச்சனை மேம். வேணும்னே முன்பக காரணமா ஆளுங்க எல்லாம் கூட்டு சேர்ந்து அடிச்சு கொண்டுட்டாங்க மேம்.
யாரு மேடம்?
எங்க வார்டு கவுன்சிலர் மேம்.
ஓகே.
அதுவும் மிலிட்டரிக்கு போய் என்னடா என்ன புடுங்க முடியும்னு சொல்லி அடிச்சாரு மேம். எப்படா நான் மிலிட்டரிக்கு போற பாக்குறேன்னு சொல்லி அடிச்சாரு மேம். அதே மாதிரி மிலிட்டரிக்கு போகாம பண்ணிட்டாங்க மேம்.
அப்புறம் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் கூட்டின்னு போகும்போதே ரொம்ப சீரியஸா அடிலாம் பட்டு.
ஆமா மேம். அவருக்கு வெளியே அடி ஒண்ணு கூட இல்ல மேம். ஜஸ்ட் சின்னதா ஒரு பொட்டு சைஸா மேம் வெளியே அடி. ஃபுல்லா உள்ளடி மேம். இங்கேயே மயக்கம் போட்டு உயிரே போயிருச்சுன்னா மேம் நினைச்சோம். அப்படி விழுந்தவனே அவங்க பையன் ராஜபாண்டி கழுத்து மேல எட்டி வதிக்கிறான் மேம். சாவுடான்னு அடிக்கிறான் மேம். வேணும்னே மேம் முன்பகு ஏதோ காரணமா வச்சு கத்தி லாடு கட்டு அவங்க கைக்கு என்னென்ன கிடைக்குதோ எல்லாத்தையும் வச்சு எல்லாம் சேர்ந்து அடிச்சு கொண்டுட்டாங்க மேம். எங்க ஃபேமிலிக்கெல்லாம் எங்க மச்சினரு, எங்க வீட்டுக்காரு, எங்க மாமனார் 3 பேர் தான் மேம். 3 பேருமே சீரியஸா கண்டிஷன்ல தான் மேம் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் அட்மிட் பண்ணோம். இப்போ மிலிட்டரிக்காரனுக்கே இந்த நிலைமைனா மற்றவங்களுக்கு இதோட இன்னும் எந்த நிலைமை மேம் வரும்? கேட்டான் வார்டு கவுன்சிலர் அவன் பையன் போலீஸ்ன்ற தைரியத்துல அடிச்சுட்டான் மேம். உங்களுக்கு கண்டிப்பா இதுக்கு நியாயம் கிடைச்சா அவங்க மேம். ஒன்னும் ஒரு பாவம் அறியாத விடிஞ்சா மிலிட்டரிக்கு போகணும் மேம் அவன் டியூட்டிக்கு.
From crime and murder to crackdown against terrorism and terror outfits and radicals, the NIA or the National Investigation Agency is conducting raids at 40 locations across 3 states in our country, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka. And this is in connection with the Coimbatore and Mangaluru blast cases from the last year. 2 people have been detained in Tirupur in Tamil Nadu following searches at their residences. NIA has released a statement claiming large number of digital devices including phones and laptops and cash worth nearly 4 lakh rupees that have been seized during the raids pertaining to the 2 cases. Let's tell you which are the locations in which the NIA carried out these raids. Now, in connection with the Coimbatore blast case, houses of suspects were searched on the basis of investigational findings at over 30 locations in Tamil Nadu. And these locations, 14 locations are in Coimbatore, 1 in Trichy, 2 in the Nilgiris, 3 in Tirunelveli, 1 in Thoothukudi, 3 in Chennai, 2 in Tiruvannamalai, 1 in Dindigul, 1 in Mailadurai, 1 in Krishnagiri, 1 in Kanyakumari and Tenkasi, and 1 in Kerala, that is Ernakulam. Then, if you were to look at the connection with the Mangaluru case and the crackdown that happened, there were 3 locations that were raided in Tamil Nadu, 2 in Tirupur, 2 and 1 in Coimbatore, while there were 4 in Kerala's Ernakulam and 1 in Karnataka's Mysuru. So, somewhere is there a connection? That's the question that arises between what happened in Coimbatore, what happened in Mangaluru. The NIA raiding 3 states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka. The raids in connection with Coimbatore and the Mangaluru blast cases, searches in over 40 locations in these 3 states. Houses of suspects were searched by the sleuths. Searches have led to large number of seizures, and more importantly, this is all electronic equipment, laptops, phones, and of course there is a certain seizure of cash. So what are these 2 cases? Let's take you back to what had happened. There was a blast in a car near a temple and the main accused Mubin was killed. This is what happened in Coimbatore. Jamisha Mubin was linked to Sri Lankan suicide bomber too, allegedly planned the 2019 Easter bombings style op in Coimbatore and allegedly radicalized by ISIS philosophies and ideology. The IED blast happened in an auto rickshaw. The accused Sharik is in NIA custody, allegedly driven by ISIS ideology again. This is what happened in Mangaluru on the 19th of November, and 3 accused are accused as he's been an accused in 3 previous cases. So he was already on the intel radar. So 2 instances happening in 2 states, but are there similarities and is there a connect in terms of who are the motivators and who are the handlers? We'll keep you abreast on the latest on this. Getting a move on here on the right stand to another incident of Hindu hate that is manifest on foreign soil, ladies and gentlemen. There is no end to these attacks. After Australia and the United Kingdom, it's now Canada. And yet again, it's a series of attacks in Canada too. The Ram Mandir in Mississauga city was vandalized with anti-India slogans, sending shockwaves across the Indian community. The incident has sparked massive outrage. India has raised the issue strongly, condemning the defacing of the Ram Mandir. A Brampton mayor has come out and assured and sent out assurances saying that he's saddened by the hate and motivated vandalism. India has raised the issue and asked for further investigations and asked for this anti-India graffiti in Mississauga. That's what they have said. They will do everything to make sure that everyone is safe. That's what the assurance that's come from the mayor of Brampton. And once again, if you were to see that there has been a promise of prompt action. That's what the Brampton mayor has said. Will make sure everyone is safe. But more importantly, who are the vandals and when will they be arrested? This is not the only instance in Canada. This one happened on the 15th of February, the Ram Temple defaced in Mississauga. Just last month, on the 31st of January 2023, the Gauri Shankar Mandir was vandalized in Brampton again. July 13, 2022, Gandhi statue had been vandalized in Ontario. September 13th, 2022, Toronto, the Bap Swaminarayan Temple had been defaced. So it's not just across the country, but also across the world. Now these instances are on the rise. BJP MP Sadhvi Pragya has come out and demanded a Sanatan board just like the Waqf board. The BJP MP further demanding action against culprits. She has said Hindu gods and goddesses are being targeted. Listen in.
वक्फ बोर्ड है, कोई भी जमीन वो ले लेता है और कहता वक्फ बोर्ड की है. जब कानूनी अगर निकाला जाए तो वो ऐसा नहीं होता कि वो उनकी जमीन है. जो ये लोग क्या कहेंगे इसको, माफिया, ये सब पनप रहे हैं और हिंदू मंदिर, हिंदू देवी देवता, इनका अपमान करने में वो कहीं पीछे नहीं हटते हैं. यही हमारी प्रक्रिया है और इसलिए यदि सनातन बोर्ड की आवश्यकता पड़ी तो वो बनना ही चाहिए और इसकी कुछ और चीजें इसमें सम्मिलित करके इसकी डिमांड रखना स्वाभाविक है.
Well, Pandit Satish K. Sharma, chair of the British Board of Dharmic Scholars, is also with us at this point. So, Sadhvi Pragya has said there needs to be a Sanatan board. Do Sanatanis need to organize? You have raised this point in the past because Hindus are not identified as a religious identity. Because the Supreme Court of our country itself, Pandit Satish Sharma ji, says that it's a way of life, it's a philosophy, it's an amalgam of similar thinking roots or offshoots of that which has a common philosophy, that's Sanatani. So where do you stand on this?
It's a great question, and I'm so pleased that after all this time Pragya ji has made this statement. It's long overdue. What you've mentioned is actually something which is a problem we've recognized for a long time, and that is that the Indian state does not offer protection to its indigenous people on an equal basis. Now, it has actually got an obligation, and I would appeal to a higher order. The Indian state is a signatory to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. So forget whether it's a way of life, forget whether it's a religion. The fact is, they are practices which are indigenous, and that United Nations Declaration puts an obligation on the state to ensure that indigenous practices, indigenous assets, indigenous rituals, all of those are protected, and that the indigenous people are allowed to practice their religious traditions, cultural and social traditions in freedom with the protection of the state. Now, clearly the state hasn't been doing that, and so what we do have now is voices like Pragya ji stepping forward saying we need to do this ourselves. In fact, I'm delighted to hear it, and if there was an opportunity to commend her for having taken this step, I would love to take it. It is long overdue. We have to do this. The time for Bharatiya governments inflicting religious apartheid on the Hindus and the Sanatani people is really over. I think that needs to be concluded very rapidly.
But let me also ask you, will organizing and creating a Sanatan board or a Sanatan organization, formal organization, how will that help? Because I remember in the past you have said that even in the UN, there is no protection for Hindus and Hindu religious institutions because there's no recognition of the same.
Yes. Well, we live in a day and age where the only validity is constituency. If you stand to make a statement, your statement will stand or fall depending upon the constituency you have to back you. And so if there is something like that board, and the members of the Sanatani family authorize it to speak on their behalf to protect their interests, all of a sudden we have a very powerful entity, and an entity which can then demand that its rights are protected on behalf of its members. So the absence of that is what has always held us back. And Anand, you and I have spoken about this before. As a Sanatani community, we actually applaud and relish diversity, that every human being should be allowed to pursue their vision of existence so long as it doesn't harm anybody else.
Yeah.
But it's only when, as a community, our rights are denied to us that we then come together and say, no, we need to protect our rights to exist and to practice in the manner that we wish. And the board would, I feel, be a great place to help that vision to coalesce. It would be a voice. It would allow us to approach government directly. But in addition to that, it would allow us to, if necessary, approach bodies which are beyond the government and the government's own constraints. So a Sanatan board, certainly, if it had a constituency which was large enough, would be entitled to approach the United Nations for equality, would be entitled to approach the United Nations and say, we would like UNDRIP 2007 to be enforced. So it would open up a whole avenue of conversation and the pursuit of rights.
But then, because Sanatan Pratha and Hindu philosophy are seen in conjunction with each other, the Hindu way of life now, if it's a way of life, so then do you then move towards defining Hindu not as a way of life but as a religion or a faith? The other part, the other part is, Pandit Satish Sharma, that the beauty of the Hindu philosophy is that you can follow whichever route you want, diversity, pluralism. Now all of this works. The moment you start organizing, then are you not going to compromise that? The other aspect is that entities like the Waqf Board and other entities aren't very covered in glory. They are also perhaps wrought with corruption, wrought with mismanagement, and there are many within the community, Muslim community, who believe that the Waqf is actually hurting them rather than helping their cause. So are we going to create another Goliath?
Well, I would be happy to address that problem if and as and when it arose. We congregate and commune with a completely different set of principles and worldviews. So the likelihood of us making those same mistakes is dramatically less. But in answer to the earlier part of your question, we are defined by who we know ourselves to be, but we're also defined by who we are not. Now, the word Hinduism was originally sculpted to identify that we're not Christians, that we're not Muslims. And so we're already defined by who we are not. And that's an adequate definition. In terms of who we are within that definition, then we have the freedom to define or not define ourselves as we wish. Remember, we're in a world where a person can even choose the pronoun that they choose to be identified by. Surely if we say we wish to identify ourselves as being not Muslims, not Christians, and indigenous to Bharat, that is sufficient definition.
But how does such a large community, such a large group organize itself? It's okay to float the idea of a Sanatan board, but the community itself stands divided, and you tend to gravitate around each temple and whoever is your Aradhya. There again there are differences. So it's also because it's so diverse and it's so varied.
Yeah.
So is this again a pipe dream? Or do you believe that current situation forces you to try and work towards this?
Absolutely. I think the latter statement you've made has really hit it on the nail on the head. Circumstances that currently prevail require us to focus on the existential threats. We can concentrate on those which are all shared without having to go into the differences of the paramparas. The variety of the paramparas are totally independent, and they can be nurtured and nourished as completely diverse entities in their own right. But equally, they are all under an existential threat. And that one element alone is like a flag, it's like a trumpet which says, let's learn to cooperate on this one issue. And I think the board would allow that to happen. This one issue is sufficient to appeal to and to help people look beyond their tiny little group identities to something much, much more substantial. We are involved in the desire to protect a civilizational idea.
Right.
It's such a valuable idea, and it's so intrinsic to the joy of experiencing human existence. And I think with such an idea under threat, our Sanatani family should be able to come together and say, well, let's protect our diversity. Let's protect our differences. Let's protect and value all of the extraordinary teachings, none of which require you to abandon them in preference of somebody else.
But is this not going to add another board or another group over already existing groups who are once again at a lot of times loggerheads with each other or somewhere loosely aligned with each other?
I have no issue with creating something new at all. The other entities who we've spoken about, they create organizations and bodies and boards all over the world with a joy and an enthusiasm that we should emulate and follow. So the appearance of something new, I think, is to be applauded. And let's allow it to happen, allow it to grow. And it may well be the catalyst which brings us all closer together. So I'm completely for it. The fact that it's new, the fact that it has a slightly different approach is welcome. It's contemporary and timely.
So, but my final question, you say that there needs to be an organization that represents the cause of those who follow different offshoots of Sanatan Pratha. But who should form this board? Should it be the Dharm Gurus? Should it be the so-called academia, intelligentsia? Should it be politicians, policy makers? How does this construct come by? Because then whoever is part of it, how do they become part of it? Do they get elected?
Wonderful.
Do they get nominated? It's again opening a huge can of worms. That's why I'm asking.
No, I think it's very simple, to be honest. Who are the custodians of the civilization? The politicians are the custodians of legislation and also the allocation of resources according to democratic norms. So they can do that without any awareness of what the civilizational values are. I don't think politicians are the custodians of the civilizational values in Bharat. The academicians also, they follow the urge and the need to teach future generations to preserve academic and intellectual knowledge. But that doesn't necessarily have to be dharmic at all. I think academia should be given the opportunity to prove its worth as a force for positive contribution to civilizational protection.
Right.
And that brings us to the Dharm Gurus. I think the biggest responsibility falls on their shoulders. I think we need them to demonstrate the wisdom that they have preserved for such a long period of time in action, in terms of how they interact with each other and in terms of how they come together to lead this vision. I would start with the Dharm Gurus first. And I would go as far as to say that if they haven't yet appreciated the necessity for us to all cooperate, then perhaps their wisdom has to be refined a little bit further. And I would recommend more internal Samudra Manthan to see clearly that they must come together. They must bring this vision into existence.
Pandit Satish Sharma, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure as always, Anandji. Jai Shri Ram.
Namaste. Thank you. We're going to take a very, very short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we get you the ground reports from Turkey. The situation is dire. And of course, troubles mount for a suffering, ailing Pakistan, because China has also said, I don't want to have any truck or any business with you because beggars can't be traders. Stay with us.